Let's look at some of the Raiders' run defense issues in the second half against the Chargers, and a lot of these are preventable. For example, this is 3rd and 2. This is J.K. Dobbins' big 46-yard run that kind of started it all. You can see on 3rd and 2, for some reason, they have two three-tech defensive tackles, and I got to believe that somebody called something wrong here because you just don't see this often at 3rd and 2 because look how wide open those A gaps are. And Diablo is responsible for one A gap. John Jenkins is responsible for the backside B gap. But it's hard to defend as a linebacker when you're undersized and you have a offensive lineman with a free release coming right at you. And if you look at the defensive tackle to the right, that's Christian Wilkins, who does a phenomenal job of swimming over the block and almost making a play. And there's just too much space for J.K. Dobbins to work. He gets to the open field, breaks a tackle from Epps, and he's able to get to around the 5-yard line. Patrick Graham did a ton of blitzing against the Chargers, a lot of run blitzes, a few cover zero blitzes, and I think he's going to do some of that against the Ravens to try to contain Lamar Jackson and just try to disrupt their run game. But the problem is when you're blitzing, you have to be gap sound. You have to know your assignments because if that run gets to a second level, it's very hard to stop. They're blitzing a lot out of their odd fronts where they have the play side defensive end crash into the A gap. They'll have the edge defender crash into the B gap and an outside blitzer play the outside. And sometimes they'll switch it up and have the outside guy go into the B gap and Crosby go into the C gap. They look confused here because both defenders went to the C gap and nobody accounted for the B gap. And you can see Crosby pretty pissed off at somebody that messed up the assignment there. But you just can't have that, especially against the Ravens. In the past, Lamar Jackson had his issues with cover zero blitzes. He's gotten better under offensive coordinator Todd Monken, but you'll see teams use it against him here and there. You just can't spam it like you did in the past. Cover zero blitz is just man to man across the board, and you're bringing pressure with no deep safety help. So you're taking a risk, but what you want to do is get Lamar Jackson to get rid of the ball quickly so he's not scrambling around and he's not going to hurt you on the ground. And the Chiefs used it here in week 1, but they're doing it out of a too high disguise. So that safety's coming off the roof, has to tackle the running back, does a good job of tackling him in open field. And if you can do that against Lamar Jackson, that is an effective tool you could have in your tool bag. Another tool that Patrick Graham might use, and this is a clip from his time with the Giants against Patrick Mahomes, is what's called odd mirror. And when you use odd mirror, you could play two high coverages. They're going to play two man here, which is a very bad defense to play against scrambling quarterbacks. But when you have odd mirror up front, you could play those type of coverages. So what odd mirror is it's a three-man rush with the quarterback spy. But instead of having the quarterback spy with a two-way go on the quarterback, you're flushing the quarterback in one direction so the spy knows exactly where he's going to go. So in this case, the rush is going to try to flush Mahomes to his left. They're going to slant the guys to the left inside. They're going to have their edge rusher to the right rush hard, and that spy is going to be the linebacker. And I imagine Divine Diablo will be that guy for the Raiders. Knows that Mahomes is going to the left. So as soon as he breaks that direction, he becomes the fourth rusher. He adds to the rush, and he forces Mahomes back in the pocket. Usually the quarterback would kind of string it out, but Mahomes tries to break it back to the right. The pass falls incomplete. So those are just some of the tools that Patrick Graham has in his tool bag that he's going to use against Lamar Jackson. But he's become such a complete quarterback now that it's hard to stop him. You have to have multiple answers and hope you hit the right one at the right time. I think Graham does have a good idea of how to stop him. We'll see if the Raiders are able to execute.